And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sport. It's a Wednesday. We are sitting here about 24 hours, well, just a day before the SAA side go and take on Munster. We're sitting a couple of days, or 3 days rather, before the Boks take on France in what will be a very big test. Very interesting test. Very interesting to see exactly how it sort of all plays out. And I think, the main thing from a Bok perspective, for example, is the fact that I think that if we look at the World Cup next year, you look at sort of your likely semi-finalists, your likely quarterfinalists, and the Boks will basically have played every single one of them within the last 12 months leading up into the World Cup, because you think that they'll have played Australia, Argentina, New Zealand, they'll have played France, Ireland, England, and Wales, and Italy. Well, not that, I mean, Italy could be a shock semi-finals, for example, if they were to get there. So, with the exception of maybe Japan or Scotland, we've played also. We're gonna have played all the big teams, so I think we're at a very interesting stage where we're getting quite a lot of information about playing against teams, and sort of understanding exactly where we are in relation to teams. And this weekend, and the reason I'm sort of talking about this is I think this weekend is going to be a big opportunity for us to experience this new sort of French side properly, because the last time we played France was that 2-match series down in South Africa, which we did win. Not the same French team at all. It's a very different look French side. They play very differently. They've got a whole very different players, for example. And I think that, it's very important that we do go and get to play the French. And for example, a lot of people reckon that the loser, for example, this weekend has the advantage for the World Cup. I think that's it's very difficult to. I think it's very difficult to sort of to know if that's going to be true or not. But I do think, for example, that it's going to be a massive experience for a lot of these Bok players to play at Stade de France, where semi-finals and finals will be played next year in the World Cup if we get that far. To play against France, who are one of the favourites going into the tournament, and to experience the atmosphere, to experience the conditions. Yes, slightly later on in the year, the World Cup is sort of more sort of in sort of October, but. Yeah, so I think that from that perspective, I think we're going to get a lot of value out of that match. The question is can we go and win? And we know the answer is yes, we can win. The question is, will we win? And I think it's gonna take a very good effort if we are to go and win this weekend. I think France are a very, very good side, a top side, arguably the best side in the world right now. Despite the ranking saying Ireland is number one, France, they're the Six Nations champions. They've lost very few matches, and I think if you look at their results against sort of top tier teams, they've actually been the best by country mile in terms of their win percentage against sort of the top tier 1 nations. So it is a very, very big test for the Boks, and one that they're going to have to pass. And but again, there's no reason why we can't beat them. But because this French side hasn't lost a game the entire year, by the way, to put in perspective to that. They Six Nations Grand Slam champions. They beat Italy, they beat Ireland, they beat Scotland. Their closest game was actually against Wales, where they won by 4 points. They comprehensively beat England. They then beat Japan twice, although the one was a bit close, and then they beat Australia. So this French side has not lost in 2022. So the question for them, for example, is, are they going to be able to go the entire 2022 undefeated, or will the Springboks be the first ones to actually beat them this year? And that would be a huge psychological thing if you do become the first side to beat the French side, who we remember also beat the All Blacks last year, for example. So they're very much the side to beat. If you go look at their 2021, for example, they lost to Australia twice during that tour last year, but they won all 3 of their end of year tour matches against Argentina, Georgia, New Zealand. So this French side have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They've won the last 11 test matches without losing a game. So for example, it is almost quite weird how they're not the number 1 ranked side, but that's what comes with the rankings in terms of who you play in the mid-years. The problem is because they played against Japan in the sort of the mid-year series, whilst Ireland went to beat New Zealand in that 2-match series. That's why this French side isn't ranked number 1, but probably arguably are the best side in the world, and playing against a box side who are the current world champions. So in many ways, it's a very similar game from last weekend in terms of, one of the top, if not the top side in the world, playing against the current world champions. But this time we're playing at the venue for the World Cup. We're playing, against the hosts to be. So there's so many more sort of mini stories about that. And yeah, and I think that what's going to be quite interesting going into World Cup next year is that I think a lot of South Africans feel that it was our World Cup. Next year's World Cup was supposed to be ours. It's supposed to be in South Africa. And it was this, I mean, we obviously know all the sort of the drama around when it actually got allocated to France. But, I think that there's a lot of frustration there. And I think that we need to use that next year going in and saying, you know what, you guys might have stolen this World Cup, but we're going to go win it. And if this box side wants to be considered the greatest box side ever, they got to go back-to-back World Cups. So this weekend becomes a very interesting sort of narrative builder ahead of the World Cup next year. In terms of what to expect, expect a lot of kicking. Expect a very interesting kicking game from France. They do kick a lot out of hand, 36 times against Australia. They'll test our back three a lot. They'll test our positioning. They'll test our width. They'll test the pack. They're a side that really do, I think, test almost every aspect of your game quite thoroughly throughout the 80 minutes. So look at some of the comments. Jan said, "The Springboks have a kicking coach, not a dedicated one at the moment." Jan says, "Good that they chose Faf to play 9 because he needs to keep an eye on DuPont. He must be in DuPont's face all the time. We know how good he can tackle. If he stopped DuPont, we could stop France." I'll be saying Boxy, a sports psychologist. Jan saying France got a Friday against the Wallabies, so maybe we stand a good chance. Ireland isn't supposed to be number 1. So he can't have a proper gripe with French rugby for pulling a fast one and getting to host this World Cup. I hope we smash them this weekend and rack them in the knockout stages. I'll be saying we lost a year in preparation, so we're behind for next year. Yeah, but I think there's still time, for example. I think I think we are obviously a little bit behind in terms of where we wanted to be, because we didn't get to blood a lot of players. Having said that, though, to be honest, I think that there are certain players who wouldn't have been on the Bok radar as much had we had that year. Because if you look at the age of some players, for example, Jaden Henderson is 22, Evan Lewis, for example, had we had the 2021 season, the 2020 season rather, we would have probably blooded different players who are a bit older, for example. And I think that they would have been, by the time we got to British and Irish Lions, we'd have been sitting there saying this is more or less sort of our World Cup squad. Whereas obviously things have changed a lot from last year to this year in terms of players who are actually involved. So it's interesting how that sort of also has played a part, because that extra year has given younger players the opportunity to come in and really get involved. There's no guarantee. So for example, Evan Lewis had an absolutely brilliant last sort of breakout year. There's no guarantee that would have happened in 2020. And he might not have been, in the same situation where he is, which is an interesting part of it as well. So, yeah, Jan says, should Dion Davis get sacked because he doesn't make us more properly? No, I wouldn't sack him. There's no guarantee that anybody coming in would make a massive difference. You got to look at, and it's not just on Walls that Dion Davis does a lot in. I think our forward pack still remains, apart from the Moors, very lethal. Our lineouts are improving, I think, and when they're on song are pretty solid. But yeah, so Mark saying still not convinced with Visa playing 8. Think Loan maybe Ruiz is better. I wouldn't have issue with the Jasper Visa at all. I think he's very much proven his worth in the last sort of year. Divan says, get blocked Basilius in the box here. And part of the Yankees goal kicking has also been subpar. Supersport will be showing the match. We've also got a guide on how to watch the match. You can watch it for free on Virgin Media 2. You use ExpressVPN, and that'll sort you out to go and watch that match as well. We will be live there tomorrow for the SAA game. I think our coverage will start at about 7 o'clock. About 2 hours before the game, 2.5 hours before the game. So, we'll have some press conferences, we'll have some pre-stuff, and then obviously we'll have some live coverage about half an hour before the game, and we'll be live throughout the game, which is going to be a lot of fun. Johan said, I was just found out who the hostility kicking coach is. Decent shot. Johan Rugby says, if we have the attitude attacking more and scoring more tries, then we will be tough to beat. Kalista said, do you think if you shave Faf, he looks just like DuPont, like the twin who is slightly worse at everything? Listen, one of them is a World Cup winner, the other one's DuPont, eh? So I'm really hoping we see a big game out of Faf this weekend. I've just finished rewatching Chasing the Sun because my parents wanted to watch it, and Faf in that 2019 World Cup was unplayable. He was unplayable. His defense and work rate was unbelievably good and unmatched in many ways. So if we can get Faf playing the best of his abilities, I think that goes a long way towards our efforts of winning the World Cup. He's so quick off the line. When he gets defensive reads right, for example, that brings a whole new dimension to the Bok game plan. Scaredy Cat 100, thank goodness you aren't the coach. Wow, what a phenomenal contribution to the conversation that is from someone who's got a pseudonym. Good impact though. I enjoy the contribution. Thanks for really going contributing to the conversation and making it that much better. Dion saying I'm quite excited considering the quality of the young players that are coming to the fore. We might be losing a few, but our depth is getting more and more reassuring. That's like a whole different side of it, isn't it? You know, whilst you are losing matches, I think that's probably the biggest thing at the moment. You know, if you're gonna lose a match, what have you gained from it? You know, if the result's not gone your way, has there been another gain? I mean, maybe there's even been a net gain. So maybe you've lost a match, but you can sit there saying, but our depth's so much better. You know, we're in a much better position squad-wise, for example. So, you know, if for example, you win a match or you lose a match, but you've like now, you know, blooded 4 players and you are getting more game time, and obviously that sort of becomes there, and they're now that much more ready for the World Cup, for example, that's a small positive. So there always needs to be growth. I think that's the biggest thing, is every loss needs to be a growing point and a point of difference. It can't just be we lost and we didn't gain anything and it's a disaster. Even if you're going to lose, you need to take a step forward. And I think that's probably the most important thing, is to take a step forward with every result. Obviously, winning games helps a lot from a psychological point of view, from a belief point of view, for example. But if you are going to lose a game, make sure you learn something along the way. Yeah, go to the comments saying, has the Saints personally would have gambled with money at 10, Willemse, the India 12-13, respectively. I know it's the deep, but this is definitely going to be a chess match and an established goal kicker needed. I wouldn't put Damon Delende at 13, because I think 13 is a very special position. I thought Jesse Creel defended brilliantly last weekend, as well as organized the defense brilliantly. And I think that, yeah, I don't think it will be the time. There's a lot of changes there. It'll be the first time Willemse has ever started at 12. It'll be the first time that Delende has ever started at 13. It'll be the first time Moni's ever played international rugby. So that's putting a lot of people in the deep end. Not to mention the fact it'll be the first time Kurt Lawrence is playing at 11, for example. It's the first time he's playing against his French side, who sort of really revolutionized their way of play in the last 4 years. The last time he played against them was before the last World Cup. Jan says the Sharks maul is fantastic. That's why I think we must get their forwards coach. What do you think is the problem with our guys? Like, it seems the games they look lethargic and others they're right up for it. I think it's harsh, to be fair. I think the last sort of opening 15 to 20 minutes last week, and you look at our defense, we really were up for it. You know, we were full of energy. We were making that those hits. We were really upsetting them. It just sort of, I think it was about a 10-minute period where we kind of switched off a little bit, is what made us pay. So we will have to be full of energy this weekend, though. This French side do play a very fast brand of rugby. They do up the tempo. So we are going to have to be very switched on this weekend. Tian saying, feel disappointed for Dion. He made a real difference when he came on with Kwaka the other day. Probably needed for Moni to get his debut, but still. Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult, isn't it? You know, and I just think at the moment we don't really have the forwards to really get that sort of 6-2 split to the players to really be able to deploy the 6-2 split in the same way that we managed to do it during the World Cup. I think Dion Fourie is a very interesting candidate for a 6-2 split, for example, in terms of being able to cover hooker, flank, got a very high work rate, very good at the breakdown, for example. Yeah, so Contenders says they should try David Willemse at 13 at some point. Not within the next year, I don't think you'll see it. Chaps, 12 and 13 are very different, hey? It's not quite as simple as just shifting it, you know, so Willemse 10, 12, 15 for me. And I don't really want to see him anywhere else. Want to stay about kicking coach? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you do see him come in on a consultancy basis. You know, he will be hanging up his boots after this Bull season, and it does sound like he does want to do coaching. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he does get involved with the Boks from a kicking perspective. But when does SAA play? Some saying Wednesday, some say Thursday. It's Thursday. It's tomorrow night. It starts at 9:30 SAS time, so that's that time. So yeah, I don't know where, depending on where you are. I think it's about 7 or 8 local time. But it is tomorrow evening, not tonight. Renee David is saying, last weekend game was not how the Boks play. I'm sorry, the team for the weekend is a winner, but our kicking must improve 100%. I do like our team this weekend. I think it's a couple of tweaks which I can really get behind. So where's Andre Pollard? He's still injured. Montgomery's class kicking coach. Maybe get him back. If Nearby finishes with us, would you make Joey Mangala our new defense coach? I think we'd have to see exactly what's going on with the Sharks and see the improvement there before. But I think we'll be interested to see how the SAA, for example, play with his input. Best position for Munster is fullback. He needs a space. Divan's saying Boks need to capitalize on opposition 22 when they have advantage. They need to swing it wide. It's effectively a free hit. Stop crashing up with the forwards. Just going through some of their comments here. There's quite a few coming in. Boone Besson says, Boks are at their best when they are down. Let them drop to 6th or 7th in the world rankings. But let's win the next World Cup. I mean, I'd rather not drop down to just that. But Ruan says, when Faf came on last weekend, he switched up our game. He started ploy attached to the medal game, less predictable. Like when he started running out of the 22, still kicking and worked well. Yeah, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with Faf when he came on. In fact, I actually said afterwards, after he did come on, that he should be starting this weekend. So I'm glad that they have rewarded him for that cameo. And again, you know, whilst he hasn't been at his best, Faf de Klerk is a very important part of the Springbok setup. If he's playing well, he really does turn our team into a whole different side. And on both things, you know, he's got obviously a very good attacking ability, which, you know, I think that we need to tap into a lot more. But I think his defense is what really makes him stand out. He brings so much energy to the side. He's so quick around the field that a Faf de Klerk on song is a very, very dangerous prospect. And I think that this weekend, I don't think it's an impossible task we're facing. I genuinely don't. You know, I think that France are there to be beaten. I think that, you know, they're on this win streak. It will have to come to an end. And why can't it be up? You know, why can't it? Why can't we be the difference this weekend? And I don't think it's going to take this like monumental, phenomenal performance either. I genuinely think that, you know, France can be beaten if we front up and we put them back on the back foot. And I do think we got the pack to put them on the back foot. And I do think we've got a nice bench as well that can bring on and make an impact. You know, I think the forwards that we've chosen are decent. I think that I'm very interested to see how Malcolm Marx, Steven Kitsoff, Vincent Koch come on in the latter stages of the game against sort of the second rank French front row. So there's quite a lot of different sort of aspects of the game this weekend. But I'm excited. I genuinely think, as I said, I think we can win the game. I'm almost more excited for the SAA game tomorrow, probably just because it's first. Because I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and very keen to see the Munster side, which I don't think has been announced yet. I seem to have stopped getting the emails for some reason. That's the wrong page. Where are these guys? Yeah, I don't think the team's been announced. I'm very keen to see what team gets put out. I know that a couple of players have aren't part of the Irish squad, which will take which player will play with them. But I'm not seeing so no team announced just yet. They're going to be playing they're going to be playing the European jersey on Thursday, but no team announced just yet for Munster. So yeah, I'm very excited for that game. We will obviously be live for it, and I'm hoping that a lot of you guys will come and join us. It is a bit of a late one for the South Africans. We started up as 9, but I mean, come on, guys. You know, just take off Friday, have a long weekend, and let's get drinking tomorrow night. Johan saying we must lift intensity from the start of the game with ball in hand on the last few minutes, like we did against Ireland last weekend. Sven says, I'm going to watch the Boks of Marseille this weekend. I hope the boys pull through. I'll enjoy that. I'm very jealous. It's a dream. Oh, my living, they've dropped it. New Zealand have dropped the second catch as you watch the T20 World Cup semi-final. Diane says, imagine if Jan Ackerman gets added to the coaching team. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be adverse to it at all, though. Tian saying, I'd love to see Swayze de Brain take a shot at coaching the Boks. He has great analysis. Well, I suppose he was involved. Having Wayne Barnes as ref also gets me excited. Great ref will let the game flow. Says David Lumini. David saying, I'd love for you to interview Floxilius for the kicking coach of France. He has been huge for increasing depth in kicking for France. I mewill try our best. Unfortunately, things like that aren't that easy to pull off, but you never know. Let's see what we can do in the next year. Contender saying, what would happen if Mpimpi came on for Creel? Could Arons slot into 13? No. Mpimpi would never. Mpimpi wouldn't come on for Creel. And if he did, you'd have Adele only go to 13. You're definitely not going to see Arons playing at 13. Rennie says, I just joined First Sport 11 person to watch the game. I don't get to watch it, please. I can't show any match footage, chap. We put out all the videos on how to watch them and stuff like that. We can't show anything on this channel. Yeah, it's just illegal, unfortunately, and we'll get taken down. But check out the channel. We are putting up videos every single day on how to watch the games this weekend. So those videos will be up. We put a video up yesterday on how to watch the SAA game. And we'll put up videos tomorrow on how to watch all the weekend's action. We've got a video for literally every single match. So we've got about 7 videos going out in the next day, showing you exactly how you can watch all the action. Because in the box, taking Albert Lowe, let Ruiz play in the SAA team. Yeah, but I mean, I suppose, you know, if Ruiz is closer to the box squad and they wants him to play instead, if it's not going to be Jasper Wiese, then that's why. So, you know, it's a 6 for one, half dozen for the other situation. You know, do you want Evan Ruiz to be a Bok or do you want him playing the SAA squad? Now, ideally, I think they would have he wasn't playing the SAA squad, but then Jasper Wiese picked up an injury. So they said, well, if Jasper Wiese doesn't play, that means Evan Ruiz is going to play. So right now, Evan Ruiz is the second choice 8th man for the box. So right now, I think Evan Ruiz has been more important to the box than he ever has been. He's been far closer to that starting lineup than he ever has been. But Cornel Summers come back to the box. Like the video, guys. 100%. Please do like the video, guys. We've got over 100 people watching, only 14 likes. Please can everybody go and smash that like button. Your game tomorrow is sold out. Was Sway's responsible for the Lions Super Attack, Super Rugby? Was it Ackerman? Well, I think a bit of both. Sway's de Bruin was the attack coach. Yes, we are going to do the SAA game, so that's going to be scheduled as soon as we've got the Munster team. We will schedule the stream and stuff like that. It should go live at about 7 o'clock. I'll be live from about 8:30. You have a lot of build up there. We will have prayer profiles. We'll have how to watch videos. We'll show you exactly how to watch the game. We'll have polls going. We'll have lots of stuff and lots of coverage for you tomorrow night. So don't stress. We will be covering it in as much detail as we do any BOK game. We will also have player ratings for it afterwards. So it should be quite a cool evening of coverage. Yeah, so we'll see you guys all there tomorrow night for the stream. So yeah, in terms of, I mean, there's not too much news out of the BOK camps. You know, I mean, for example, a couple of the things is that Ches and Colby will be kicking for goal this weekend. It does sound like he will now be the primary goal kicker for in that side. Steyn Willemse won't be kicking. But then, you know, we need actually people to take responsibility. You know, we've got it. He's playing in conditions. You know, he's back in France. It's Colby, so you know that'll hopefully play a part. But yeah, people got to put their hands up and start taking responsibility, because we can't go to the World Cup with only 2 recognized goal kickers, and as soon as they get injured or if they can't play, all of a sudden we're in a lot of trouble. You know, it is a bit of a problem. It is something we need to work on, and hopefully we'll see a bit of improvement this weekend. So yeah, in terms of players I'm looking forward to seeing this weekend, I'm really keen to see how our starting front row goes. You know, I think, you know, Oxenchair, Bongi Manambi are going to be very confrontational. I think they're going to be very in your face, and hopefully they really give the starting French front row a really good go. We know those teams will be announced tomorrow, the French side and all the other sides for this weekend. So, you know, tomorrow we'll have a bit more of an idea of exactly what the French have done. It'll be interesting to see if the French respond to the Springboks, or where they just sort of do their own thing and say, no, it doesn't matter who we're playing, doesn't matter what team we're playing, we're going to, you know, back our systems, back what we do, and you guys just have to sort of deal with it, really. So we'll have to see what happens there tomorrow when they do announce their 23. And yeah, but there's some really cool matches this weekend. I mean, you've got Japan versus England, which I think should be quite fun. Wales versus Argentina is a really cool game. Italy versus Australia, I think should be a cracker. You've got New Zealand taking on Scotland. Hopefully we see Finn Russell back involved, which is going to be quite controversial. That in itself sort of creates quite a nice narrative around it. So yeah, last couple of comments before we sort of close it up for the day. John is saying, sad we lost Cricket World Cup, like now Pakistan and India is going to win it again. I thank you for kind of true inspiration. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Dion saying, agree with that part. Thank you very much. Deborah saying, I really think that Ori will disturb their line late in the second half, which will allow guys to counter to score. Yeah, I think Marvin Ori is a very underrated player. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I think he's a very solid player. He's a very traditional lock. He's very hard worker. He's very good in the lineouts, makes his tackles. I think he has cleaned up a lot of his discipline. I actually don't mind him in there. I think that he created a bit of a reputation when he was at the Lions of being a walking penalty, which I think he has sorted out at the Stormers. But I think he's playing good rugby at the moment. I think he's become quite underrated. And I think, the biggest problem is, you're always going to compare him to an Arceus Snyman who's injured, but he's not available. And he's a very different player. Yes, he doesn't have the same physical presence. He doesn't have the offload gain that an Arceus Snyman has, for example. But an Arceus Snyman can't stay fit. So what can you do? So I think Marvin Ori still has a lot of value to add. He's not a small man by any means. I mean, he's 115 kg. He's over 2 meters tall. So he's not a small player. I just don't think he brings the sort of same athleticism maybe that, for example, Arceus Snyman does bring. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there, people. Thank you very much. Please do smash a like on the video on the way out. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live again tomorrow for the SAA games. So lots and lots of stuff coming up then. Should be a really fun evening. So make sure that you it will be scheduled today. So make sure you guys go and turn the notification on so that you get a notification when we do go live. And yeah, I will see you guys all tomorrow. Stuff coming up this afternoon. We will have a Springbok press conference with a couple of players up. We'll also have an SAA conference with Bafana Klerk, which will be quite interesting to see what he has to say. We'll hopefully have some more press conferences up from some of the other teams as well. We had an Australian press conference that went up last night. And hopefully we will have a couple of other team press conferences up very soon. But yeah, thank you very much, people. And we'll chat to you guys all very soon.